Imagine if you were the last man on Earth, literally meaning you would be the only man alive on the planet. All the other men have died, and you're the sole survivor. All the women in the world are chasing after you. Would you consider yourself lucky or unlucky? The events start at a sports club where all the men appear to be in good health until one of them suddenly coughs up blood on the wall. Medical professionals arrive and wear protective suits due to an unknown virus. Despite their efforts, the man dies without a known cause. On the seventh day, all the men at the sports center die in succession. This mysterious virus has no effect on women. After 8 years, all the men in the world have died, leaving only women alive. They are shown as happy and united. In New Zealand, a group of women forms a large organization called Wellness, focused on education, healthcare, and living without men. Interestingly, some pregnant women are present within this group, indicating that the organization is ensuring women remain pregnant. They collect sperm from men before their extinction and use it to impregnate healthy women. A population increase project is organized, selecting the healthiest women for insemination. One woman named Jet is particularly enthusiastic about the organization's project and follows its leader, Lynn, obediently. Jet's friend, Jamie, who lost her husband and son to the virus, also supports the organization's efforts. Tensions rise within the group, with some women, like Alex, expressing dissent against Wellness and its activities. An argument breaks out, and Alex throws a strange green juice at Lynn. The police intervene, and Alex is arrested. It is later revealed that the police officer, Constance, and Alex are actually friends. Constance suggests spending time together during the weekend. Meanwhile, Jamie secretly meets with the doctor named Harvey, and they discuss Jamie's involvement in the next phase of the artificial insemination project. Dr. Harvey examines Jamie and informs her that her health is very good. She mentions that based on the results of the examination, Jamie might be selected. Jamie is pleased with the doctor's words. However, Dr. Harvey tells Jamie that if she gives birth to a boy, he won't live long, which saddens Jamie. Later, at Jet's home, Jamie accidentally drops a plate of food, and while picking up the fallen food, she overhears Lynn and Harvey talking about theories related to population and efficiency. She doesn't fully understand their conversation. Dr. Harvey asks Lynn whether they should focus more on the theory of numbers or efficiency, to which Lynn responds that the number is crucial for a larger future population. Jamie accidentally emerges from under the table and apologizes for dropping the food. Lynn falls silent and doesn't continue her conversation with Dr. Harvey. Jet approaches Lynn to talk, and Lynn tells her not to mention what she overheard. Jet agrees, saying she always listens to Lynn. Later, Alex awakens from her coma, a result of the injection she received. She doesn't remember what happened and finds small notes everywhere, explaining how to remove the injected device. She thinks she wrote the notes because she was often arrested for opposing the organization. Meanwhile, Jamie and Jet wake up and find Jamie missing from her room. They discover the notes and blood everywhere, causing them to worry. They assume Jamie might still be under the influence of the device and search for her. Spotting Jamie from a distance, they approach her in their car. While trying to get her attention, they accidentally hit something with the car. To their surprise, it turns out they hit a man. They are very surprised by the presence of this man because all the men in the world died due to the virus. They approach him, find him alive, wake him up, lightly hit him, and he faints. Then, they take him to their barn, and I become emotional when I see him and start crying. The man has an injured leg. I tell them that they need to hand him over to the organization, and they should handle him. However, Alex strongly objects to my request. They decide to treat the injured man and then contemplate their next steps. The next day, they wake up to the sound of organization vehicles. I beg Alex not to speak, fearing the organization will reveal whether the house is suitable for the child. I sit with the arriving organization representative and ask her questions to ensure the child's safe birth. They seem flustered, especially when they hear a sound from the barn. They claim it's the sound of cows. Alex searches the man's bag, finds his ID with the name Bobby, and discovers crumpled newspapers with news about the revolution led by her mother against the organization's regime. She realizes her mother was a famous chemist. Bobby wakes up and attacks Alex, throwing her aside. He drinks water, takes his things, and tries to escape. Alex tries to stop him, but he overpowers her. Just in time, Alex finds an electric shock device, shocks Bobby unconscious, and hears a strange noise from the garage. She decides to investigate. She enters the garage, finds only Alex tied to a pillar, and pretends to be under the influence of drugs she took. The inspector looks at her in surprise, and then she leaves them. After a while, Bobby regains consciousness, realizes he's tied up, and struggles unsuccessfully to free himself. A call comes to Jenny, informing her that she's not suitable for the child's birth. She visits the organization to find out why her friend was rejected, but they don't disclose the reason. They ask her not to interfere. Then, we go to Alex to talk to Bobby, the only man who survived the virus. She asks him to speak and questions him about why he carries a photo of her mother. He remains silent and unresponsive. Alex threatens to inject him with a tranquilizer, but she hesitates, fearing he might die from it. She breaks the syringe, recalling her mother being injected with a permanent tranquilizer. Alex tells Bobby that her mother was injected with a permanent chip because she saw a surviving man. She reported it to the organization, leading to her mother being injected with the chip. Bobby confirms her mother's story and reveals that many men survived the virus, but they are being hunted down by people who want to kill them, and they don't understand the reason. Jenny consults a gynecologist named Harvey to understand why she was rejected for artificial insemination. She explains that she agreed to the procedure and doesn't know what went wrong with the system. Back with Jamie in the kitchen, she attempts to make a cake while crying, upset about being excluded from the artificial insemination test. Suddenly, Alex enters, extremely happy. Jamie is surprised and asks her why she's so joyful. Alex reveals that she spoke with Bobby and he knows many secrets about the Wilson organization that could potentially destroy them. Jenny goes to Bobby to ask him for sperm so she can conceive. She tells him about her situation and the rejection she faced despite passing all tests. Bobby initially refuses, insisting on respectful treatment. He agrees to help as long as they treat him with respect. Then, a police car arrives with a policewoman holding a photo of Bobby, and she's tasked with apprehending him. The next day, Jenny goes to buy vegetables, and the vendor, who was rejected by the organization for conceiving, is upset and crying. Jenny returns to Bobby to forcibly take more sperm, but he refuses, emphasizing that he will help them if treated respectfully. They indeed decided to take Bobby out of the barn, but they didn't free his hands. Bobby took clean clothes to put on and entered the bathroom to clean himself. At this moment, Jenny was very intrigued by Bobby. She went to tell Alex what happened, speaking in a low voice to prevent Alex from hearing and knowing what they were doing. Alex went to sit with Bobby to have a conversation. She had wine with her and started drinking heavily. When she got drunk, Bobby decided to escape from her. However, due to his injuries, he couldn't run far and fell among the livestock waste. With no other option, he returned to Alex. Bobby handed Alex a chip and told her that this chip will lead him to where the remaining men on the planet are. Alex decides to help Bobby. Meanwhile, Jenny was preparing herself for the micro-injection with Bobby's sperm. However, she remembered the vegetable vendor and struggled with her decision. She stole the sperm samples she had taken from Bobby and hid them in the refrigerator. She then left a note outside her house saying the gift was from Robin Hood. Later, Jenny noticed that Alex often stays in the barn and tries to catch her attention, as she has a crush on Alex. Alex gave Bobby a mobile phone intended for her mother to insert the chip and await a call. To their surprise, they receive only one message that says, "Danger," from an unknown number. Meanwhile, Jenny went to the organization and encountered the policewoman with a gun aimed at the vegetable vendor. Jenny injected her with a gun due to the vendor's involvement in revealing the sperm samples to the organization. The organization now knows that there's a man who survived the virus, while Jenny and the policewoman remain unaware that it was Jenny who exposed them. Jenny warned her friends about the danger, and they hid behind the barn, evading attention. Jenny was blamed by her friends for her actions, as she unintentionally exposed the truth by giving the sperm samples to the vegetable vendor, using their farm tools. The friends realized that the organization would have known about her pregnancy eventually, as it's not easy to hide. Alex told Jenny that after what happened, the organization won't return to the farm again. Alex was very upset because the farm was her last connection to her brother. Meanwhile, Bobby's phone was ringing, and he answered. It was a man's voice saying the word "Afer," meaning safe or safe place in some contexts. The man provided coordinates for the location of the secret men's club and Bobby wrote down the address on his hand. Unfortunately, the policewoman who was following them was eavesdropping on the call. She learned the address and their destination. They all got into the car and managed to reach the location Bobby wrote down. To their surprise, it was the same place where the first death occurred, the sports center. They waited for a long time, but no one appeared. Exhaustion and fatigue from waiting started to show on them. Bobby and Alex got out of the car, and suddenly Bobby stared angrily at Alex. A red light appeared on her forehead, indicating the laser sight of the policewoman's gun. Bobby quickly shouted for Alex to run. They barely made it back to the car in time and drove away at high speed to escape the policewoman, who was about to catch them. Bobby informed them that the policewoman chasing them was the same one who killed his friend. Jenny got angry at Bobby for not letting them know that they were being pursued and that someone wanted to kill them. Jenny got confused on the road and took a wrong turn, leading them to the organization's celebration. The road she took was one way, and there was no way to turn back. They were told they had to keep moving on that road until they found another route to escape. They encountered a woman from the celebration who spoke to them. Bobby hid himself, wrapping himself in a blanket. They had to get out of the car and join the celebration to avoid suspicion. Bobby disguised himself as a cartoon character and they all entered the party. Jenny was looking for her husband at the party but couldn't find him. She sat next to a little girl on a ride, and suddenly the girl commented on Jenny's appearance, hinting that she looked pregnant. Jenny brushed it off, attributing her nausea to the ride. But when she got off the ride and vomited again, she realized she was pregnant with Bobby's child. The hallucinations returned to Jenny again, and she sees someone who looks like her husband Jackson talking to a woman. However, upon closer inspection, Jenny realizes that it's a girl dressed in clothes resembling Jackson's attire. Meanwhile, Kate is searching for her friends who got separated during the party. She meets one of the organization's members who recognizes her, which confuses Kate. Kate is forced to tell the member that she's at the party as a volunteer to help with the event. She takes paint and a brush and pretends to assist in the ceremony, painting the faces of the little girls who are lined up for her. While Kate is painting, she notices the policewoman who's been chasing them from a distance. Frightened, she leaves the tent but enters another one, where she finds Len. Len talks to Kate and tries to convince her to join their ranks again so she can execute their plan and rise within the organization. Len promises to promote Kate and give her a high position, but only if she listens to her and follows her orders. Meanwhile, Alex witnesses her mother, who's lost in a trance, dancing at the party without any awareness or memory. Alex takes her mother and brings Bobby in the hope that seeing him might trigger her mother's memory. However, at that moment, the policewoman spots them. Bobby runs away from her and hides in a tent, where he finds a funhouse mirror. Jenny and Kate see Bobby and Alex running towards the tent Bobby entered, trying to help him escape from the policewoman. Inside the tent, they discover that the funhouse mirror is an illusion and doesn't lead anywhere. Jenny sees herself pregnant in the mirrors, which is another illusion created by the mirrors. They try multiple attempts to regroup but struggle due to the distorted reflections in the mirrors. Simultaneously, the policewoman enters and manages to inject Bobby with a drug, incapacitating him. They attempt to follow her to save Bobby, but the reflections in the mirrors impede their progress. Kate comes up with an idea to use paint on the mirrors to mark their path and find a way out. The policewoman kidnaps Bobby and puts him in her car. Jenny manages to catch up and jump onto the car without the policewoman noticing. Alex and Kate use their car to follow them closely. Inside the car, Jenny searches for any weapons she can use against the policewoman to save Bobby. She finds a syringe with a sedative. When they reach an abandoned location, the policewoman gets out of the car and takes Bobby with her. Jenny goes with a giraffe she took from the police car to rescue Bobby, but the policewoman intimidates her. Despite being stronger, Jenny manages to defeat her. Jenny rescues Bobby, they both get into the police car, and they escape. Jenny reveals to Bobby that she's pregnant with his child. To divert attention, she leaves Bobby's disguise on the road, which helps Alex and Jenny evade capture. They all gather again near a water bridge. Jenny narrates the events to the group, explaining how she managed to rescue Bobby and defeat the policewoman. She informs them about the sedative injection in the police car. They deduce that the policewoman wasn't trying to kill Bobby but wanted him alive. They drive to the location revealed by a man on the phone. Jenny seems distant and avoids dialogue with them. Suddenly, she leads them to the headquarters of the organization, betraying her friends. She hands them over, and they're captured by the organization. Lynn embraces Jenny and expresses gratitude before taking them to a luxurious room. Lynn informs Jenny that she's now an important member of the organization. Alex and Jenny are detained, while Lynn takes care of their needs. Alex informs Lynn about Jenny's pregnancy, but Lynn is indifferent. Lynn reveals that they'll face the same fate as Alex's mother, who was also held in the same cell. Constance arrives to take Alex and Jenny to a doctor. She expresses her disappointment in Alex's actions and how she's risking her life. They go to the traitorous Jaini, who is elegantly dressed in a black dress. They head to the organization's main headquarters, where the women praise her. However, Jaini feels guilty for betraying her friends. She witnesses Bobby, elegantly dressed and tied up, showing his anger at her betrayal. The other women notice Jaini talking to Bobby and feel jealous, wishing he'd pay attention to them. Lin starts provoking Bobby, leading to an intense confrontation. Jaini's actions make him furious, and he aggressively responds. All the women present, including Jaini, lash out at Bobby in a heated argument during dinner. And they tied him up and placed him on the table. They undressed him because the one who wanted to get pregnant by Bobby wanted to do so. Lin asked Jaini to also get impregnated by Bobby. Jaini hesitated, fearing the consequences. Lin warned Jaini that either she kills Polly or Polly's friends will be killed. Jaini realized Lin's intentions and muttered to herself that they're all crazy. This annoyed Lin, who ordered Constance to arrest Jaini. Constance apprehended Jaini and locked her in a room, planning to inject her with the same constant hallucinogenic drug that is known to cause memory loss. She then ordered them to start injecting Jaini instead. When their backs were turned, Constance injected the nurses with the drug. As a result, Jaini's friends woke up from the coma. Constance requested Alex and Jaini to inject her with the drug, creating the illusion that they attacked the nurses and injected her. Jaini, Alex, and Bobby managed to escape. They confronted Jaini for her betrayal and how it led to Bobby's capture. Jaini expressed regret and apologized for her actions. Alex and Jaini forgave Jaini for her change of heart and for saving them. Alex and Jaini decided to seek revenge against Lin, the head of the organization, for her actions. They planned to acquire weapons to execute their plan and to free Bobby from Lin's grasp. Lin was driving her car with Bobby, tightly restrained. She was also experimenting on him. They managed to stop Lin's car by placing a cow in the middle of the road. When the car stopped, Jaini used a taser to shock Lin and make her lose consciousness. Then, Jaini removed the necklace with the key to Jaini's restraints. Alex had a sharp weapon and used it to free Bobby. They urged Bobby to join them, but he refused, no longer trusting Jaini due to her betrayal. Lin woke up from the electrocution and aimed her gun at Bobby. However, Alex and Jaini stepped in front of Bobby to protect him. In the struggle, Alex hit Lin hard, causing her to fall and drop the gun. Alex used the taser device to shock Lin, incapacitating her. But this time, she shocks her for a prolonged period, causing Lin to lose consciousness. They manage to escape, with Bobby going off on his own to a sports center. He knocks on the door and shouts for help, but initially, nobody responds. After a short while, security cameras capture him, and the door to the sports center begins to open. Bobby enters through the door. The girls notice that a car from the organization arrives to help Lin, who is still unconscious. The girls follow Bobby into the center through the same door. Bobby asks the girls to leave him and go, but as they do, the police officer confronts them and aims her weapon at them. Jaini cleverly convinces the police officer not to kill Bobby, and the officer reveals a surprise: she's been protecting them, not trying to kill them. Suddenly, the officer locks the room they are in, and toxic gas fills the space. The police officer informs them that the room isn't safe and it's actually a trap to catch them. To escape the gas, they struggle to crawl through the ventilation system, guided by the police officer. But the police officer can't escape with them and advises Alex that she's just like her mother and part of the same organization that once protected men. Alex notices a tattoo on the officer's arm, the same as her mother's, and becomes upset that they've lost the strong police officer who could have helped them. They manage to crawl through the ventilation system, with Bobby struggling to free himself. However, Bobby gets stuck in a vent, unable to move, while the toxic gas spreads rapidly. The situation becomes critical as the gas could suffocate them at any moment. They notice that the ventilation openings are weak, so they hit them with their hands and feet until they collapse, creating an escape route. They manage to break through the ventilation system and escape into a strange room filled with many restrained men. Lin and Dr. Harvey enter. They expose the evil plans involving these men and their cruel exploitation for artificial insemination. The sperm storage depletes over time, and they reuse these men for their biological needs. This is a way to prevent the extinction of mankind and to consolidate control. They realize that the head of the organization, Lin, executed this plan with the help of another man. They find out that the note sent with Bobby was part of the organization's plan and the only way they could persuade the men to come to their location. They learn that the man who spoke to them through the message, he was also Jackson, Jiny's husband, who is working in cahoots with Lin in all these sinister schemes. Bobby is shocked to see him, realizing that he was part of this wicked plan. Jiny is also devastated, crying over what she has witnessed and heard. And they are left stunned by all the revelations Lin had shared with them. Their shock intensifies even further when they learn that Jackson is the cause behind it all. However, they find themselves powerless to take any action.